for a minute though. I am so here for it. I'm here for it. Here for every given. And then can we talk about your hair wrap? I am so here for it, honey. I am here for the red lipstick. I'm here for the glass. I'm here for the earrings. Baby, I'm here for everything that is given because it's given exactly what it's supposed to give. Yes.
Hey, baby, no, I'm just out here admiring black men for this intro.
Okay.
Like,
did he not do that?
For BET. Come on,
did he not do that? I was like, okay, look at new intro. Okay,
it looks so good. Maybe we're professional now, honey. Professional.
Good job. We just want to give you some flowers.
I'm about to get on Instagram now and text Ava DuVernay if she looking for somebody. Cause baby, we gonna hit my
black man done came in here, made us. We already official, but you know, we put a little jazz on it.
Yeah. Let me hit my girl Ava up right now, cause he's just out here, girl.
You know, shit, I got
he's just out here doing it.
You know, y'all need to hire him. Okay, go ahead and put him on your payroll so he can hook you up. Cause I done seen some of y'all intros on these streets, and you know, nobody does it better like Black Men Unfiltered. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he doing it. You gotta give it to him.
So welcome to Wind Down with Real Women with Mother and myself as Dot. We're happy that you joined us on this beautiful Saturday. We are in Texas, so I don't know where you're at, but right now it's pretty outside. You know,
it really is. It really is.
You know, I think they worked out something, and you know they're trying to give us back our spring because it's been cold and funky up here in North Texas. My sister's down South Texas, and
the dirty.
And so we just wanted to welcome everybody for coming out once again. We're going to get into some heavier topics today. Okay, we're gonna get straight into it. And so I had this idea because Mother, she, you know, before BM, before marriage, we were different women. So the question today is, does patriarchy and Black male privilege harm Black women and other subgroups? So what brought this idea up for me was, if you are on the TikTok streets, there is a couple of creators who went to the media and aired out their dirty laundry, essentially, and everybody has a front row. And so this young woman, or not a young woman, this lady basically outed a man that she was intimate with. And so the man basically, she had sex with him unprotected and put out like this, she's informed consent, stated that she did not consent to multiple partners and things of that nature. And on the flip side, this man told her, this is an indigenous man also, something warrior. I don't want to say their names. We're just going to have the situation, you know, at the end of the day. And so basically this man is a player, essentially. He is polyamory. I think he was honest about who he was. And this woman presumed that, you know, maybe she was the only woman. So one of the things with this situation is, when you're a man, you have privilege. You just do. There is male privilege. There is Black male privilege. Even though you don't see it as a male, there are certain male privileges that you have as a man that a woman does not have. So, with that being stated, in this said situation, I'll get into that, Sir Hell. Nice for stop. I'm glad you stopped by today. Hello. We'll get into that. So in this situation, basically this woman put out this like dreary video about informed consent, and she had sex with him unprotected. And to me, it came out as, one, using your white tears. It gave me Emmett Till, very much so Emmett Till. A situation where you are crying wolf in the situation, like you know what this man is, and because you got your feelings hurt, you put him on blast. And so, how do you feel about women, Caucasian women, white women, who out or use their privilege, their white privilege as women against men or indigenous men or men of color?
Well, I mean, like, are we really super surprised? I mean, isn't that such like a Karen thing to do? You know, like to know what was going on and then cry rough and oh my God, I'm so hurt. I can't believe he did that. I mean, so I'm not super shocked, you know, that she did that and wanted to pretend like, you know, when she was getting, the getting was good. And then, you know, after her feelings got hurt or whatever consequences she had to deal with, now it's like, oh my God, you know, that's typical Karen. Like, that's what they do. That's kind of how they get down. But I don't think that it's only white, because, you know, when you were talking about that example, I mean, sometimes that happens in the Black community too. You know, we see these cases where women know that a man had 3-4 different baby mamas, that he was a player, and you know, I don't know what it is in us that be feeling like, well, I'm gonna change him. And this, that, and the third, and then you know, now you fifth baby mama, you dealing with the kids, you know, you
future,
do it all, you get deadbeat, and you know, and they do the same thing. It's just in a different way. You know, they get on there, oh, I'm doing this out by myself. They sperm, don't ain't do it. You know, they just do it in a different way. But it's like, wait a minute, sis, you knew he had 3 baby mamas before you. Like, you knew he wasn't doing anything for them kids. Like, you knew how that situation. So I think it happens in the Black community too. Just because we don't have polyamory so much and those sort of things, it just shows up differently, I think.
Yes. And so, like, I feel like that's really dangerous because it gets to the point, like, when you have white tears, essentially, and lack of informed consent and all that kind of thing, to make it seem like, you know, he is an awful person, and he could be awful relationship wise. And so I saw a lot of like Black women creators kind of speaking up and taking some form of solidarity, but also like letting white women know, like, hey, you know, you can't do this in this way, because this leads patriarchy, and all of those things lead to harm to the Black male or to the indigenous person, or, you know, whereas you've seen so many others who actually get away with these things, which there's no privilege in that space. Like, they just get off and they can do as much harm as they want, and there's sometimes no repercussion. So I thought it was kind of harmful for her to do that. But on the flip side, I wanted to like lead that conversation into how many times have Black men tried to do something similar in that way, and it goes hush, like nobody wants to talk about that. So I want to kind of get into like male privilege, in Black male privilege, because sometimes Black men can get away with doing harm without accountability. Now, how many times have the uncle come to the invite and he done touched on all the little kids?
True.
Or how many times have there's been, there are things in our community, like, so with that situation, I was like, girl, dry your tears. You got played, but you should not be using your white tears on this indigenous man, because basically it will cause harm to him more ways than one. And, you know, it will spew, and these are like woke people. Now, any man in power, any man, like any woman, women are drawn to power as well. So this man has a big platform as well. And, you know, in these streets and in these YouTube streets, women get beside themselves because people have a platform, and they will be married. They will have like a girlfriend, a fiance, all of that. And women will still throw themselves at these men. So there's an accountability piece as a woman. Like, if you know a man is married, if you know a man is dating or seriously, like you should not be out here throwing yourself at these men.
Mm-hmm. Facts. And then you can't get mad, you know. What did you think
Right.
was going to happen?
Right. What did
Or
you
you
think?
thought you were so special that he wasn't going to do it to you?
Right. Right. So what I'm saying is the thing about it is is that not what let's see what is being said in the comments. Let's go over here. There like I said, there is a such thing as a male privilege. You don't have to agree with it, but that is a form of male privilege.
I think why it's so hard for people to take black male privilege is because in America, black males don't have privilege like at all. It's only white male privilege. But within the black family and within the black structure, black males do have privilege. So I think that's why it's really hard for people to understand, because it's the exact opposite out in the world and out in America. But within
Yeah.
the family is what we're talking about.
Yeah. 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 So, so one of the other things that I also wanted to highlight was, for instance, when it comes to relationship, another story that was told. Now, this isn't my said story, but a woman was in a relationship with a man. He was a military man. So, that could be a situation. Men in the military tend to, can roam because there's a lot of access and, whatever the case may be. So basically, she's married to this man. She's married to the man. She is in this long-term relationship, and he is cheating on her, basically. So she is having sex with him unprotected at the time. We talk about most of the cases of like HIV and things of that nature come from what? Boyfriends, husbands, long-term relationships. Those come from those situations. So they're not strangers, they're not one night stands or anything like that. It's in a consensual relationship where you're only with that particular person. And so what she stated was, you get rights, Sir Hell, you get rights. In the black family, you get rights. Sometimes you get the last say. Sometimes you get, you get the final word. Sometimes you can get away with things. It's like double standards in a way. There are plenty of double standards where your privilege comes into play. You do have privilege. You don't have to agree with it, but you do. So, anywho, so one of the things she did, she had to protect herself. She had to use like condoms. She was like, I'm never going to not use condoms with this man because he's out here cheating at the end of the day, or he cheated. And it's always like on the woman to like kind of protect herself versus a man. Some men don't even go to the doctor to get themselves checked out. They will be like, well, would it like, because women will go to the doctor. We'll have no issue, but black men, and I'm saying black men from my personal view, because this is who I've dealt with. I haven't dealt with anybody else. Black men do not go to the doctor. They don't always check themselves out. And this is me at a younger age. So keep that in context. This is not now. But this is previously when I was in my 20s or I was dating or whatever. I had a lot of guys who did not like check themselves or did not make sure that they was A1 or whatever. Or they would just depend on whatever their girlfriends like, hey, I'm clear. Well, that means I'm clear. And so I think we have to be like really careful about, sex and dealing with our partners and dealing with, how we are operating in these spaces, because we're using trust at the end of the day. Like we are trusting our mates to do what they need to do. And if we're in a committed relationship, that is not the expectation, like for you to go cheat or do anything outside of the household. And then as a woman, making sure, like, even though I'm married, I still go get myself checked, like my regular yearly checks. and stuff like that. And I think that's important, not because I think my husband's going to go out and like cheat, but I think that's just a form of, you know, preventative care to make sure.
And you have to do that anyway. It's a lot of like diseases and even sexually transmitted diseases that can lay dormant for years. And so even if maybe you used to be out in them streets and, you know, maybe for 5 years you've been in a committed relationship, you know, some things from your past can come up, you know, and are now into your relationship. So it's important, like you said, for both parties, not just the woman, you know, to make sure that they're getting, you know, tested and all that good stuff. And but some of the blame does, you know, not blame, but it's a two-sided thing. Yes, the men need to be going to the doctor and protecting themselves as well. But as a woman, you know, sometimes we know signs. And somebody said in the comments, and this is the truth, for some reason in the Black community, being a player and all those things are like not encouraged, but it's not looked down upon.
Right.
You know, it's almost like people celebrate it a little bit. You know, you'll hear the older men, you know, and I was just on my own family. Oh, how many girlfriends you got? Oh, or, you know, if they bring in one girl around, then now it's another girl, you know, a couple weeks later, like they're applauding them for that. Like, oh, you know, you doing your thing out here and this and that. And it's like, is that celebrated? Something we really should be encouraging? You know, is that something we really should be applauding? You know, but then when the downside of it happens, you know, they got 3-4 baby mamas and going through all this foolishness, going to jail behind child support, STDs, all that stuff, and gets involved, then we want to look down upon it. But, you know, it's a fundamental problem. And I'm glad somebody brought that up. Like, I don't know why within the Black community, like, we encourage that. It's like if you see a young man doing that, okay, that's fine. He's in his swing, he's living his life or whatever, as long as he's being honest with the women and not being in a committed relationship. But there's a lot of us out there will have family members, and I've seen it myself, and I don't apply none of this, that we know are married and that we know are in committed relationships, and they'll bring their side chick or their girlfriend to the barbecue or to the cookout.
Yeah, I don't know why. I never thought that was okay. Isn't that awkward?
It's like, very weird. It's super weird. But I have family members that I've seen have done it. And the rest of the family members be talking to them like ain't nothing wrong with it. Like, well, that's right. That's true. It's butterfly. Yeah, they don't disclose to. But the thing about it is, as women, we know signs. We've heard, you can tell, you know, if a man is not 100% with you. Like, you know that.
Sometimes, some of them are
slicker than others, but you have some indicators, you know.
Yeah.
If a man is not,
some red flags.
Yeah, if he's known for, you know, kind of being a player and that's what he does. I think sometimes as women, we go in thinking like I said, like, oh, I'm gonna change him. Like, oh, you know, he ain't never had no woman like me. And it's and the third, and if that's where he is right now, he's not growing. You don't see any growth in him. Like, you're not going to change him. Yeah. If he's not ready to change, he's not going to.
Yeah. And I think that's like the space where, you know, like there's that type of man that is out in the open, but then there's the undercover type situation where they cross their T's. Like I wasn't dating a guy. I was talking to a guy or whatever back in college, and he was so neat and very structured about everything he did. Like, I never knew he had a girlfriend. I had no idea this man had a girlfriend. But, you know, his girlfriend, I guess, picked up on the fact that he was talking to someone else. And, you know, you're on campus in college. The campus is about yay small. Like, you're not going like that. I never bumped into this girl. I don't know what that woman looked like, but I knew friends of friends who knew who she was or knew what she looked like. And so me as a woman at the time, like, well, young lady at the time, like, I didn't feel no ways about it. I'm just going to keep it 100. I didn't feel no ways about him having a girlfriend at the time because I didn't know what I didn't know at the time. So I didn't feel bad about it. I stopped talking to him because he did have a girlfriend, and I actually never addressed him because I'm like, well, what I have over here with you, that has nothing to do with me. That was my mindset back in the day. Like, that's a you problem. And if I didn't know, the only thing I can do is be safe and have good communication with you, but it's not my, you know, once you know, you can't unknow. And so it's like, okay, well, you know, like you should, maybe perhaps I shouldn't go there. But I see a lot of women that sometimes they don't care.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the
people,
flip side of how we were saying, that being a player and all of that, is like kind of glorified. Now being a side chick is glorified. And it's like, where did this come from? Back in the day, it was not like that. And if a woman was a side chick, she definitely was not bragging about it. Like now they brag about it. They all on social media with it. They talking about everything that they have and that they've gotten from these men. It's almost like a badge of honor for them. So it's almost like the times that we're in now have just changed, so much from the male side and from the female side. It's like, where do we, kind of find this balance or kind of get people back to the values, that were there at one time? Because I never remember growing up for it to be glorified, for a chick to be a side piece or for you to be.
I mean, that family was ostracized. Like if you found out somebody had that other kid or the outside kid of the marriage would literally be invisible.
Yeah, it was, and it was sad because the kid didn't have, but that's just how it was, no woman. And even though we all knew we had that one auntie, they might have had a married boyfriend or whatever, but she was not bragging about it. It was not something that was like that she was glorified for. And she wasn't bragging about everything he was doing for her or like any of that. And now these days, it's like it's glorified.
I mean, I don't think a woman back in the day, like, now I feel like women is seen as, what kind of man you have, and I'm gonna take advantage of it too, versus like back in the day there was a form of shame. Now, we have these different lifestyles. Mm-hmm. Okay. So like with like the indigenous guy, he believes in, I guess, polyamory. Now, if the person is saying that like they are not into that type of lifestyle or anything like that, then ultimately, I think people should find people who have similar interests instead of trying to force them to be something that they don't want to be, or put them in situations. And then like, because you're wanting this relationship with this person, that you'll like basically change who you are as a person to accommodate them in certain situations. So it's like, how do we build people or women's self-esteem where they feel like they don't have to, or make it okay for them to do that because they're on the same plane? Because I don't have an issue with polyamory. That's your business.
I don't either, if that's what you into. If that's what you're into,
that, you want to share.
From my understanding of polyamory, though, it has to be, like an agreed type thing. Like it has to be, a person has to be consenting to, okay, this is the lifestyle. I want to be a part of this lifestyle. Not, you in a relationship, you have your couple polyamorous people and you still picking up outside people.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, I think some of them have maybe blurred. It's not a license to just go and mess with anybody you want to.
Right. Right. I think it gets a bad rap.
It does have some parameters around it.
Yes.
So I think as with anything, some people have probably abused it,
Yeah, I think it gets a bad rap because people, I've seen these truples and all this kind of stuff. They have these lifestyles, and people don't have. First of all, that's an expensive. Well, it's supposed to help financially, but then you have men who don't got that much, but the women have everything, and he living a life, It's a totally different lifestyle. So I think like people need to be aware of what they're getting into. And let's just stop saying Pookie and them. Because first of all, it's Paul's, it's Mark's, it's the guys who seem to have it all together, and they not that great either too. I know they love to say like Pookie and Ray Ray, but it's some of your favorite people that you would never know who are out there in them streets pretending to be the good guy.
True.
And they are not.
True.
So just be mindful about it. It ain't just Pookie and them. That's the one that's loud. But I'd be more concerned about the quiet people who roam and they can get around a lot quieter.
They're the ones you gotta watch out for.
Yeah. Because I'm not attracted to no Pookie or Ray Ray.
Pookie or somebody. At least they're upfront. At least they're honest, And if a man is out there being honest, so some of that is on the women. If you knew, because there's some men out here that are being honest with, and like, hey, I'm not looking for, a committed relationship. I'm, seeing multiple people. And so in that event, like, it's on you. But you brought up a good point. Like, what do we do? A fundamental problem is women's self-esteem. And how do we empower women enough to know, like, hey, you don't have to settle for this. If she's settling, if that's not what she's looking for, you don't have to go along with this. You don't have to. Because like you mentioned, like, it's more of a young mindset, but I think that's tied to self-esteem. Because I had been in a situation like that too. And I was like kind of proud of, I knew that the guy, when I started dating him, I didn't know that he had a girlfriend. I came to find out that he had a girlfriend, but it made me proud. Like, oh, I didn't took this host man, it was, and so I say young, but it was a lot of self-esteem in that too, because the woman I am now is like, oh no, I would never put up with no shit like that. But it was a lot of like self-esteem and all that good stuff not fully developed. And so why I was taking pride in, and that was like kind of boosting my self-esteem to feel like that I was taking, when he was really playing both of us. I wasn't taking nothing. He
right.
Was everything.
You were still kind of losing,
Yeah, so it's like, how do we, get women to realize, or get women's, self-esteem high enough? And again, this is not for everybody. Nothing against polyamory. If that's what you're into, that's a separate lifestyle. We're talking about the women that are ending up in these situations, and that they're not, understand that they don't realize how they got there, and they end up, feeling played because of, whatever the situation was. Oh, so Sir Hale brought up a good point. That is true. Polyamory and polygamy are two different things.
Yes,
two very different things. But I think the one commonality that they have within both of them, there are some parameters. And I think that's what people get confused the most about them. Neither one of them are like relationships where, you just have license to go and mess with everybody. It's parameters in polygamy and polyamory.
Yeah, polygamy is the marriage side. Like, you have the multiple wives.
Yeah, kind of like sister
and that's kind of, or husbands, because there are women out there who participate in as well. And then polyamorous is like everybody. You have multiple relationships, but everybody knows about those said situations. Like, everybody is aware of whatever. So you have open communication. I think communication is like the best thing, whether you're in polygamy or whatever. You have a good understanding of what you're getting yourself into. I think that is an issue. I think also esteem affects men too. I feel like that's why they roll in this situation, because their sexuality is tied to their self-esteem. And if I have more women, not all men, but if I have more women, then that's a sign of, like, I'm a man, and this is who, like, that is who I can get women. Like, men love for women to be attracted to them. Like, that's just like a pro is for them. Like, ooh, I can still get women. I'm still like, they still will test married men taking off their wedding ring.
Right. Let me see if I still got it.
Yeah, let me see if I still got it. But I do understand those dynamics in a way, because that's the same way as what's the young lady with the basketball player who
Aisha Curry?
Yeah. So
that's basically what she was saying.
Yeah, she was like, I want to know that I still, and I was like, that's still, to me, at the core is a self-esteem thing. True. Like, you really need to have a strong sense of self about who you are and who you're connecting with, and because it could be a lot or it could be a little, just depending on
And when she said that, I'm like, well, is her husband? But and I guess that's an interesting dynamic too, because her husband is this big star, and even though everybody knows he's married and all that stuff, I'm sure that doesn't stop women at all from complimenting him or throwing themselves at him and all that good stuff. But her kind of being in that role, everybody knows she's married. Nobody is gonna dare, like, try to approach her, anything like that. And so, I could see how. So I was just wondering, like, okay, well, is Steph not at home building her up? Is he not, making her feel, like that she's the most beautiful woman? Like, does he not have her? I mean, you have to build your own self-esteem up, but after being married for a while and all that, like, you need some of that. Your husband plays a part in too.
Yeah, I feel like in a way, yes, but in a way, like I feel like at the end of the day, at some point, if people aren't attracting themselves to you, that is like that's a good sign. I feel because I think like if people are, to me, it's like energetic. You're still saying you're open in a way
True.
when people are still gravitating towards you in that way. Now people gonna hit on you, but like what you giving out that make people feel even comfortable to think that they can approach you in such a disrespectful way.
Right. You giving out
So I
single
would,
energy.
yeah, are you giving out single energy? Like, is that a thing? I think like I haven't. I mean, with the pandemic and stuff like that, the panini, like there there hasn't been that kind of interaction like that. I haven't been out and about, so it feels a bit isolating. But right now, like if you, normally you would have people that's attracted to you, or you're out and about, you may see that. But I always feel like right now it's virtual. So
I
now
was
people
just
can
gonna
be in your
say,
DMs.
yes, that's what I was gonna say. So it goes to social media. But like you said,
Yeah,
it's with the energy you give off too, because I don't even entertain. Don't hit
right.
me with no good morning, beautiful. Don't hit me with none of that. I am not
Yeah,
responding to it. And
right.
you're right. I think some people do give off that energy, and it may just be their personality. Oh, I'm a nice person, this or that. If if somebody's sliding in your DMs with this good morning, beautiful, and this, that, and the third with the heart eyes
Good
and the
morning,
hearts,
gorgeous.
hey, you know what they in there for. They not in
Yeah,
there, so I don't even entertain it, baby. I leave them on red. I want you to know I saw it. I leave them on red. I'm not responding. I'm not entertaining none of that. Because I talk about my husband, I talk about my kids. I'm married, I have a whole family, all of this. What are you in my DMs for? It's nothing that you need to talk to me about privately that that couldn't have been addressed. Don't slide in my DMs and don't send me no hard eyes and all of that. So I think some situations, like you said, people can kind of give off, single energy. You
yeah,
entertaining it, this and that.
yeah. You're not blocking it. You're not outright with your
You got to
like
shut it
marital
down.
status. Like you're not edifying your significant other, especially on these YouTube streets. There's a lot of men that be married, but they do not. They love to portray a single energy that's out
Mm-hmm.
there, and it's just like that is so harmful to your relationship at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Like if you married, you're married
right.
until you divorce, like
Exactly.
you got to carry yourself as such. So I
And
think
I've
that's
always wondered
important.
about that. I mean, I'm sure maybe it's some men, and I shouldn't just say men, even women, that have their reasons on why they don't have their spouse. On social media, like, you see a man that in real life is married, and you go on his profile picture and he flexing, he got his six pack, he looking real single, on the media platform, his cover photo is him out there, with his like he just giving real single energy. And I've
Right.
never understood that. Like, it's like, is that who you? Because I call it thirst traps. It's like, okay, you know what you're gonna get from this. Like, so is that what you're looking for? Like,
Yeah. Like
what
what you
is
doing out here?
that you're
What you doing out here
projecting
with us?
portray? You know?
What you doing out with the people?
Yes,
So
I don't understand that.
yeah, I think getting back to like just answering the question, does it harm women? Yes, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because there are laws that prevent women from getting like women's health, like women care, like
Right.
women can't get abortions or women can't. There's always like a law of some sort. There's the pink tax, and if you don't know what that is, basically it's like on tampons and products that we use, there's an additional tax to that women, like, this is something that we have to deal with monthly. And we also have to get consent, like if we're married, to do like hysterectomy. So I feel like with those type of things that affect women and women's health, yes, it is harmful because you have laws these days that prevent women from getting the care that they need or being able to take care of themselves. There's women who can't even get abortions because they've been raped or whatever. Like there are laws that protect patriarchy, and it is in full force, whether you believe it or not. It
True.
does exist, and other, I would say, women non-color women, non-color women, but not women, not non-women of color support it. And so that's why I'm always very leery about how situations play out, because I'm just gonna watch. I'm not gonna be marching for every situation, especially
True.
since
We have to be
like we
careful with
can't get up and fight the power. Usually we on the right side of things as Black women for the most part, like the higher majority of us who are thinkers are usually on the right side. But that does come into play. So yeah. What
True. I
what
mean,
was
and
that
that
down
made
there?
me think about, a situation that's currently going on
Mm-hmm.
that, I think a lot of us were behind, but as stuff started to unfold, I know for me personally, I started to kind of research something. So the whole Ukraine, situation. And
Oh
of
yeah.
course, I don't think anybody should be imposing war or any of that good stuff on any country. But of course, we all were, standing with them, solidarity, all that good stuff. And then these videos and these news reports begin to come out about the way that people of color, particularly Black people, even though they may not have necessarily been African Americans, there were Black people were being treated, as they were looking to escape from Ukraine. And the whole thing was just disheartening. I don't know if you guys saw it, but the 2-month-old baby that was out there in the 3-degree temperatures, and
Right.
they're being refused, to board this train or whatever it was. It was like, we've all been standing, I'm sorry, hang on. Oh, hang on, my kids. My
Yeah.
kids figured out how to call me on the Alexa. It's like, and I think we as a Black people, we are, and I think that's just the sort of people that we are, because we are a giving people, we are a caring people.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of our makeup, and we're forgiving people. And so when things happen, we're quick to run and stand in solidarity, with those countries, unbeknownst to us that they're over there doing our people, that way.
I
It's
mean,
like,
it does not, that kind of privilege does not take a day off, and it just
yeah, it
shows like
doesn't.
even during a war situation that you still was able to like push these kids off, or not, they weren't able to get onto the bus. These are students,
Yes.
they're over there for their education, like whatever. There's a
Mhm.
lot of kids that come over to the US, and it is what it is. But for them to basically snatching them off of buses,
Yeah.
like pushing them, like they couldn't get to Poland, or was it Poland, and
Yeah, it was
what was
Poland.
the, yeah, and they couldn't get over there. So Romania, I saw another clip later that actually Romania helped them get to safety, or a large amount of
Yeah.
them. But I'm like, and then the way they portray them in the media, oh,
Yes.
this country, like this is, first world, this isn't supposed to happen to them. Like
Yes.
I was like, wow,
And if you actually
wow.
research them, you'll see they have a history of like racism and of treating like people of color a certain way. And I think it had a bit to do with Poland too, because I don't know if you guys saw these comments. They're like, no, they're not like the refugees. These are white Christian people.
Yeah, these are Christian. They're like you and me. They shouldn't,
What?
like, they should. I'm like, wow.
So
So if it's
Furia
brown
posted,
folks that's in the media, then it's like, oh, okay,
yeah,
well, then that's supposed to happen. They're supposed to be savages. That's supposed to be happening to them on their land. But this land, oh my gosh, like
yeah,
that
these are
isn't supposed to
Christian
happen.
white people. Like we need to, it's like,
We need
yeah,
to support. And I was like, I just sat back and I just wanted the stuff to play out the way it is. But I'm like, I can't sit up there and go like, oh, support. I ain't put their flag up. You
yeah,
see, like I hope that everybody is safe. And I
true.
hope that nobody, like, overall, like, I'm not a heartless person, but
Yeah.
seeing that kind of stuff, like, it gives me pause. Like,
Yeah. And it's like you said, even during a time of war, you have time to make time for racism. It's like,
it never
like
takes
you
a day off.
mind y'all. Like, it's ridiculous. And so my feeling was, because I did see some Black actors and actresses like donating to the fund. I'm like, okay, well, they need to put those funds together and specifically get the people of color, specifically get the Black people, since that's the way that things are being done over there. I don't feel like why are we donating to this cause and our people are, over there being treated once again like second class, been discriminated against. It's like, when is it ever going to stop? If you have time for that during war, like, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Like, how dire can a situation be, but you still make time for racism? Like, ugh.
I can't get down with that. I can't ride with that. I can't stand on anything. Like, I hope these people are safe, but if that is the mentality, and I'm sure it may not be all, but nobody else stopped them. Like when those people was putting them off, like nobody else was like, no, these people are allowed, but I'm not there, so I don't want to assume. But all that video footage of them really like being pushed to the end of the line and not being able to get home, it just lets us know that like we just need to tend to our own communities in such a way so that we can gatekeep some of those situations. Because I was like, well, where was their country at? Like,
so that's the other piece too. So I was looking at another platform, and somebody said that it was more of a nationalism thing and less of a racist thing. That more of like Ukrainians looking out for Ukrainians versus people that were in their country but from another country. So they were saying that it was more like a nationalism thing. And I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, I'm like,
it's a people thing. Everybody. So you saying like everybody is trying to get to safety.
Yeah.
So that means everybody who's in that particular country needs to get to safety, not more
whether
over the
they
other.
were born here or whatever the case is. Like, I wasn't buying it. I wasn't buying it like at all. And then on that same platform, there was some rhetoric that was brought up of, like Black Americans, of course, Black Twitter had kind of went crazy behind that. And one of the commentators was saying, you guys are doing all this behind these people. These are folks that don't really even like African Americans that much. And so that's why they're in these other countries. That's why they're in European countries and in other places going to school and doing that type of thing, because they feel like they're superior to African Americans. And that was a general, kind of statement that generally those type of people don't really care for African Americans, Black people from America anyway. And it's like, you guys are, putting so much support behind them. So I don't know. I know I have had specific situations in college with, Black people that were from, different parts of the world. And there was like almost a privilege among them. And they didn't really care for African Americans. They felt like we were lazy and just a whole gamut of things. And so I could see that being possibly true. But at the end of the day, to me, it's more of, it's not the time, to be concerned about that. We can sort that out later. These people just need to get out of their country.
Child, I think people like, I can't see color. You need to sometimes.
Exactly.
You really do. If you don't see color, I don't even like that phrase, because that means you may not be able to see my problem. You may not be able to see my issues. You may not be able to see my concerns because you're not seeing me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the whole thing was just disgusting. And I think we all have to be careful about, what we're quick
rushing
behind.
Yeah. Absolutely. I feel the same way. Like I'll let stuff play out a little bit more so I can see how people are going to react, because during like a trial, like I don't know if this country is going to be in a similar situation. I don't think we personally need to, I'm not a politic buff or anything like that. I just try to stay abreast here and there about the situation that's going on. But I was like, we just got out of something, that was 20 years long.
Yeah, that we spent trillions of dollars on.
That's why we did now. I'm like, can we just like chill a little bit?
Right, exactly. I think I never understood that and my brother had to kind of like explain some of it to me, but I've never understood that at all. America is always Captain Save-A-Hole, and we have all of these problems within our own country. I've never understood that, but he was telling me, that they're part of NATO and the UN, and so because we're such a strong nation, we're almost relegated to, assist, a weaker nation or a nation that's being bullied or something like that. And I get that maybe, but I've just never understood that. Even like the whole Iraqi thing, it was like we spent.
It's about money.
yeah, we have all these
Money,
issues at home
oil,
in America.
resources. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of issues of our own that we need to tend to. But
That's politics for you.
yeah,
I'm like, yeah, let's not. But I do feel like, just headed back to the topic, that thank you. I like matriarchy too. I do. I think it's undervalued in a Edison. Like it's not to say it does not have its own issues, because now this is a kind of a softer way to put it. If anyone has watched Encanto, okay, it's a cartoon, a movie. I love it, but it is a you can see matriarchy in that situation. The grandfather passed away, or blood sacrifice, or whatever. If you dig too far into it, there's so many different themes throughout that whole movie. But the abuela in that situation is the matriarch, and she is guiding this family to be the best, and all that kind of, like, it was still toxic because she put too much pressure on family, essentially. Like, she put so much pressure because she was scared to lose the magic. And it was still rooted in that she still loved them, but it was rooted in fear. And I think if we lead from a place of fear in any situation, it's going to cause harm. It's going to cause harm in the family dynamic. But I do appreciate matriarchy. My grandmother, like, after my great grandfather passed away, she was still an entrepreneur. She was still, running her businesses and things like that. And I looked up to that. That's really cool. It influenced my mom to do entrepreneurial things, and I'm getting into it now. So it definitely has a place. I prefer it because it comes from, like, it's about family. It's about community. Whereas patriarchy to me is like about power. And it could cause, to me, more harm than good. So, and it's about war or whatever. And I'm not saying you don't need those things, but there's like no balance. There's no, like, it needs to come together. And it doesn't always does that. Like, yeah. So,
and that's the thing with either one. It's like, why can't it be a partnership? Because you need that balance.
They hate that word, girl, up in these YouTube streets. Partnership.
Girl, but I want a partner. To figure out, girl, and I'm not here for none of that. Like, why can't it be a partnership? That's even like with raising kids, with raising a family, any of that. Like, you need to have a partnership. You need to have that balance. Of perspectives from I hate to say masculine and feminine, but a perspective from a man, a perspective from a woman, like right. that because all the good things that we're saying about matriarchy, that balances some of those things about patriarchy, so it's like, why can't it be, like both of those parties? I feel like, even though Obama's like Barack and Michelle, I feel like because he, you can tell that he was secure enough in himself that he listened to her and that they had like a partnership. And I feel like that's why their scenario was as successful as it was.
Right.
I don't know why people are so against like partnerships. And yeah, I'm just not sure.
Yeah, I mean, they were like, well, partners, is it a marriage or a partnership? Like, semantics, okay? Like, exactly. My thing is, does it work? Does it benefit the collective? Does it benefit your family? Does it benefit, are people coming out a little bit more balanced? Do people feel heard, or people feel seen? Do they, hey, Bree, do they feel like they are, you got to be careful either way, because it could be too soft or it could be too strong. True. So that's why I like the dynamics of, patriarchy. Yeah, like of the partnership. Yeah, I say me and my husband have a partnership, and now people don't agree with that. I don't care. Yeah. It ain't their marriage. So,
and well, I mean, you have to do what works best for you, but yeah. I don't know. I just see a lot of perks with having a partnership. I see a lot of pros with it. I know they always talk about all the cons, but I think there's a lot of pros with it too. Even with like raising kids, You know, like you need both of those energies. I can see a lot of things now because my dad wasn't around like that. I see a lot of things now with me and my husband raising our kids that I didn't have, you know, growing up, and a lot of scenarios that end up being much more balanced. You know, because sometimes I'm off on the deep end, or sometimes I'm being too soft, and my husband is there to kind of balance, you know, and you say, well, hey, have you thought about it this way? Or so, you know, we are able to kind of.
And sometimes I come in hot, child, and I'll and
yeah,
he
that's
will
what. Yeah,
calm that
sometimes you
down
do too
too.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's important to have those dynamics, especially in a household where, you know, there is some balance in the personality or in the collective, in the group, because there's other dynamics out there. And I don't really know how they balance. I would love to have someone come on who is in a same-sex relationship. I'm just interested in how those power dynamics are, not from a place of like understanding, not of judgment or anything like that. So if there's anyone who wants to ever come out and just speak from that point of view, I would love to hear what that looks like for you in same sex or binary, whatever subgroup that you are that doesn't get highlighted. I would love to see what those relationships look like, because some are like, well, it's no different, but there's a difference. It may be a difference. I want to know if there are any difference, or is it very much so the same. You know, I think, you know, that needs to be highlighted and be seen, because you just don't know what that looks like. People are like, well, that's why there shouldn't be this, but you don't even know what their dynamic is like to understand if it's functional or happy or whatever the case may be. So,
and I think a huge misconception that people get with same-sex relationships, and I hate that. I hate when people even ask that, well, who the man and who the woman?
Yeah.
Either one of them. Like, what do you mean?
Right.
That's why. So I think, yeah, it's crazy. I guess we've been so not brainwashed, but you know, that's been a norm for several years, that we think about, you know, only in terms of like man and woman. And so I guess that helps people to decide like who's having the most power, if it's the man, you know, or whatever the whatever the case is with the relationship. And it's like neither one of them are, you know, clearly it's a same-sex relationship. So you either have two men or you have two women.
Yeah, I think that's like the insensitive piece. Like people just say stuff and it's just like, well, who's that? I'm like, there are more than one. And people get upset about teaching kids that, but imagine if an adult knew what these different relationships, they wouldn't sound so ignorant when they're, you know, well, who the man? Well, it's not that dynamic.
Right. And somebody in the comments, you are so, and it's mostly in older people like do it all the time. Who's the man? And I don't know. I guess because this their norm of thinking. Like, I guess, you know, in their mind, they need to know, you know, like
my mom always asks who's the woman. And like, it is embarrassing. That is so embarrassing. Like,
and they don't see nothing wrong with it. So it's like, that's all I'm like, okay, well, maybe in their minds, you know, like they feel like, you know, this is what, so there has to be a dynamic like this because that's just how it goes. You know, not understanding that
there are other dynamics.
Yeah, and that's why it's a same-sex relationship.
Yeah, and it works. And you got to understand that there are same-sex relationships that are 30, 40, 50 years old. Yes. It is not uncommon for people to have long-standing relationships with the same sex. So
yeah.
To what is it, Nova Rainey, or hopefully I probably butchered that. So I'm sorry if I did. And your comment was, I think both men and women care about power, but women are secure by giving power away for the benefit of the whole than men are. And I agree with that to a certain degree. Mm-hmm. I think like we will relinquish, and we do a lot of times relinquish our power so that the job can get done.
True. Yeah, it's for the greater good. I mean, we do it all the time in families. If it's something for the greater good of the family, you know, we do it all the time.
Yeah, we do it. And I think sometimes we shouldn't do it, but that's probably another topic. But like, not all the time. Are you about to get all of this? Because no. Thank you. Absolutely. I agree. And I think they are coming because I feel like there's balance. When you look at our leadership, it is primarily, when you look at a boardroom at a big company, we don't have to go to politics. Mm-hmm. We can go to your local board rooms and stuff. I always look for that in a company. I want to know if there's a woman up there, if there's a person of color up there, because that's
well,
why
I think that was the benefit of even with the whole, kind of, and I hate to bring it to this one point, but this is really what started it with, the George Floyd scenario that put not only diversity, but inclusion on the center stage and on the main platform, and made companies, like really pay attention to that. And so now if you look, like almost all major companies, definitely all Fortune 500 companies, have a whole diversity team. And so,
that is a growing area,
not only for people of color, but also for women, because part of that whole agenda is inclusion. It helps people within the LGBTQ community, anybody that's different outside of the standard white male. It helped, to really kind of push the agenda and get us to where so it was, not only for people of color, but also for women. I noticed that all of those countries are making sure that they have good, like inclusive teams that includes everybody.
Yes. Because honestly, when one type of subgroup is in power, it causes harm.
Yeah.
To the other collectives and it affects smaller subgroups even more heavily. So True. Minority groups worse. So I think sometimes other groups forget that they are a minority because they can play the fence. Like
True.
White women can definitely play the fence. Like, I'm a woman, but I'm a white woman. So you have like those two dynamics where you can play. And so that's why I was like, yes, subgroups have societal blind spots that diversify. Yes, absolutely. I think we can learn a lot from each other if we would allow those spaces for people to thrive and be different. Because why do we have laws against hair? Like, I can't wear my hair or my braids because that's deemed unprofessional, or I can't do this certain thing because that's deemed unprofessional. I think the way we are viewed, like the way we're put in the media and all that kind of thing, really affects how other groups look at us, or other countries too look at us.
Thanks.
So if y'all are only, throwing out the minstrel shows of Black people and all that other kind of stuff, or that we are this, but now this is kind of off topic, but they show back in the day, we used to get those other countries and they would be like, save a life or save a whatever, and they have those videos where people are like poor and they're hungry. They have those shows, like, have that same thing viewing in other countries. Like, help feed an American.
Yeah.
Help feed an American. I was like, oh my gosh. So the same ones that we get, the African ones where the child got flies, like help feed, them same videos is going across the world. And I was sitting over here like, wow. But it's not untrue, because the homeless population is very, very large. You see the crisis with housing and like inflation right now is
crazy
right now. Like,
and everybody is blaming everything on COVID, and everything has gone up except for salaries. Like, how do we?
It's been like 40 years since people, like, who can survive on $7.25?
Right.
Who? I want to see that. I really want to see somebody else from the top take on that particular, then they'll turn around and blame it on the people. Like, you need to pull yourself by your bootstraps and make a way. And I'm like, this is a system. Why was it ever $7.25?
Yeah, and for this long, it's like none of that stuff is like balanced at all. The prices have gone, inflation has gone way up, and none of it is balanced. Everything has gone up except for salaries.
I can't walk out of this house without spending $200-$300. At minimum.
The housing, and here in Houston, it's ridiculous. I guess because we are, very attractive right now. The cost of living is pretty cheap. We have plentiful jobs and oil and gas and like the medical, of course, biggest medical center in the world. So Houston is so attractive. When I tell you, like 2 years ago, $400,000 to $500,000 could get you a mansion in Houston.
Right.
I'm talking about a 6,000 to 7,000 square feet house on 2 to 3 acres. Now starter houses here in Houston, and I'm talking about starter, like your first house out of college, like 1,700 square feet, are ringing up for $325,000.
Same up here, up north.
Like,
and so we have like
ridiculous.
the California implants that's coming over here. We got Chicago. A lot of Chicagoans be coming down here. Like I don't know everybody who's coming, but I do know that a lot of people who are traveling, they are coming to Texas because larger companies are coming to Texas. So it's driving up the price. Also, companies are buying up homes. Like, the companies are buying these homes. It's not even individuals. And I was like, dang, where is our protection at? Because now we're in this
nothing.
Yes,
the other
Georgia.
piece too is so many like remote opportunities now, and a lot of companies have gone 100% remote. So now people can live anywhere, and it's a win-win for them, because if you're working for a tech company in San Francisco and you're getting that payment, because of course the cost of living in like San Francisco or one of those is much higher than it is here down south. So they're making a boatload of money and still able to enjoy, like the much lower cost of living. Yeah, I mean, it's like it's a win-win scenario. It's like, so that's why we get a lot of these people from the East Coast, a lot of people coming from California, because
Oklahoma is open.
Right. Well, nobody
I
wants
just want to let y'all know.
It's the thing. We're so attractive. Like in Houston and Dallas, like nobody wants to move there. Just to let y'all know, Houston is full. We can't take anybody else. Like Houston is full. Nobody, if you were considering moving here, we can't take anybody else. It's full. We can't do it.
Yeah, we're full. Texas is full. We can't we can't, like, you go up north, El Paso, like there's Arizona on the other side. Like, Arizona hot too, though. Arizona is super hot.
I guess, it's just really like, it's really attractive here. And I guess, when you live in a place, or when you live, even in Dallas, when you live in place, I guess you don't look at like how outwardly, maybe your city or like your region looks, but and Houston has been this way for like the last 2 years, maybe. Just like enormous amount of people. We were already like the third largest city, and it's just been an enormous, amount.
And the traffic in Houston,
ridiculous.
Yeah, they still haven't fixed 35 in North Texas. I'm still mad.
No, we had a free 45. They've been, I swear, since I was a kid. Since I can ever even remember, like driving on the freeway, 4 or 5 years old, they've been working on 45. And I'm grown, I'm 33 years, and they still working on 45.
They're still working on it. And now we have like toll roads that aren't even owned by the US. They're owned by other countries.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that money ain't coming to us. That's not coming to benefit us. It's the benefit of the countries. Wow. And then, like someone else said, they can take our money and go to another country and live good.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about the 8-to-5 structure. I hate that. 8-to-5 to me is blasphemy. I feel like nobody is really working 8 hours straight.
And then 5 days a week?
5 days.
I'm not here for it. I'm really not. So we only need 2 days, to refresh and to re-energize ourselves and be like, I'm really not here for that.
It's really a rat race. Like, if you have your own business, like, yes, I feel, Bree, yes, I'm there with you. 3 days, and then like I need like 2-hour break, because mentally, like, I just feel like I could get some errands done. I can go to a doctor's appointment. I can whatever. These days, I work remote and my company is very flexible, but it should be across the board. When you go to like the hospital or doctor's office, you in them same hours. So you got to figure out, you got to miss money,
right?
Because everybody don't have benefits and things of that nature. Like 3 days. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. I would be open to a Saturday if I had some other days.
I think at least 3 days, 3-4 days.
Yeah, 3 days of your choosing. Get your job done. Don't bother us.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at J. Cole was doing an interview, and the way he broke it down was like, man, have you reevaluating your whole life? he was saying, that he at one point was working a job and he made, I think it was $8 an hour or something like that. And so he really kind of talked through. So like, wow, they really felt that 60 minutes of my life, were way. So he broke down, 24 hours in a day, 60 minutes in an hour. So he really broke down like how much, an hour really is like out of your whole day, and that they only valued it at $8. I mean, and the way he said it like so eloquently, it'll really have you like reevaluating, like your whole, and we have some people, and I tell people all the time, you can't be willing to die behind no job, because I have seen it firsthand. And if someone passes, baby, they will have your name or your posting gonna be up before the ad about your funeral and all that good stuff is up.
Correct. And what the company's gonna do? Because I was in one of them roles. I sent flowers.
Yeah, yes. I'm telling you, that's what they do. Like, at the end of the day, they might feel bad, whatever the case is. You might have been beloved there, whatever. At the end of the day, business still has to go on, and they still have a business to run. So, don't kill yourself behind a job, because if something happens to you, it's not going to be that same energy. It's not.
It's the sin of capitalism, I think, because it's about money, and the wealth gap is just extremely high and extremely wide. Who knew making our women the head of household work so well and destroying our community? Don't know what you mean by that.
Right.
Expound upon that. What do you mean? Yeah. So I always feel like you should have like some boundaries, but nothing has changed. It's like a well-oiled machine. You get people, everybody is on this schedule. And I think it's harmful. Capitalism, white patriarchy is a crime. Like it's a crime, especially to our groups, our minority groups. So women being naturally hyper. Oh Lord.
Oh yeah, he going into a whole different.
All right.
A whole different discussion.
All right, sir. I'm gonna let that go over my head.
Okay. Okay.
You break it down in like for a fifth grader. Break it down that way. And I just want to see, break that down. I just want to see.
Yeah, I'm confused.
What else?
The other part of this too, it's like a lot of matriarchy is not necessarily by choice. It's a lot of it. Unfortunately, within the Black community, like we have the highest rates of like single mothers and that sort of thing. So what do you do?
Yeah.
Do you just like, who is it that you're waiting on? And, this is for generations on. So it's not like how it used to be, grandpa, whoever else is there. They're not, and like it's no male figures at all. So, what should the women do? Just sit there
and they can't.
Yeah.
It's not feasible for matriarchs to sit there and wait for things to happen.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
So, no. So I mean, I feel like, if women are, like women have to find a way, because I mean, either way, they'll be like, okay, well, it's the fault of the Black woman. And I get that dynamic, but what is a woman supposed to do when she got a family to feed? What, you want her to buckle? But then you really blame her because the real reason, the core of that reason of why the family may not be there is because the man left, or he was in prison, or all these other things. So that messed up the family dynamic at the core. It's just their absence.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know, maybe.
I mean, it's funny. Yeah. Like, how do we? Yeah, but then there's such a problem with like, the Black, she wants to take over. And that's what ended, the family and the Black family. No, not in all cases. Men not being around, and it being this cycle, of generational, like, who is it that they're supposed to be looking to? It's no grandpas or, none of that. The generation that we're in now, grandparents are like, in their late 40s and 50s. And unfortunately, it's this generation, with kind of some of these values.
So I had this discussion. I like women want a man of higher education, more money. Okay. I don't know. Okay. I'll agree that some women do want men with higher education and more money. Yes, that could be a true statement. And thank you for informing me about Goldman Sachs investing into Black women on purpose. I know there's a lot of groups that are planning to invest into minority groups. There are
But do
companies to
y'all really
support
think
that.
that's the reason, though? Do y'all really think that they're specifically invested in Black women in an effort to figure out how to tear the Black man down? Like, I think that's
I
a
don't know.
reach.
I was like, is
I
that
think
his
it's a
point
reach.
or was I was hoping.
I think that's a
Yeah.
reach. If that's what the point of that was, I think it's a reach. I'm sorry, I really do think it is. Like, I don't think, that's the intent, behind them investing, in Black women to tear the Black men. They, unfortunately, it's a lot of other things already in place. They already have child support. They already have all these other things in place.
Yeah. I think
That,
the Black man needs to focus on the things that affect him and his community
yeah, and not
instead of looking at the
all
woman
these
to kind
other
of, that's a whole nother
factors.
topic. They don't like that, but it's okay. But yeah, I think y'all should, get the collective together and attune to the thing. I feel like Black women kind of put our efforts into the things that affect us, and I think Black men should do the same thing. Um, there's nothing wrong with women. Yeah, Brie. Girl, it's so long. I feel that it could go on and
Right.
on and
True.
on. Also, okay. So I had a discussion, and I don't know if it's off topic, but so one of the things was we as women have, so I had this conversation with one of my ladies who's in a marriage, who's like, they're married. And so one of the things that they were referring to was, I had to learn that my husband wasn't a leader. He wasn't a leader. So I had to learn how to lead without making him feel like he was being led. Is that a soft skill in a marriage for a woman to know that, your significant other may not have, like Essa was saying, like at high education, all of this thing, money or whatever the case may be, like he doesn't always know, because a lot of people like to be in leaders, like I'm a head. They like to be the head, but they don't know how to be leaders within their own dynamic. So I found it interesting how she was saying that she needed to basically okay. She needed to know how to lead, but not from a way of demeaning her man.
But I don't know if we're like conflating two things either, because I don't know that higher education and making more money, all that good stuff, necessarily correlates with being a good leader.
It doesn't.
Because
It doesn't.
you can be a good leader at work, and there are plenty. And unfortunately, sometimes those people that are on top and that are great leaders at work, their marriage life is, they don't have the most successful marriages. You can be a great leader at work and, make all the money, all that good stuff. That doesn't necessarily relegate or mean that, at home, you're going to be a good leader.
Right. And that's why I was like, just because you're the head, you could be the head, but does that mean you're a good leader?
True.
And that may be another topic that we will talk about, is married women, how we move the needle. And because women talk about that. They may not say it loud, but women have to know how to lead from a place that does not demean their significant other. And I want to break it down a little bit further. So we'll wait until like next week, and I'm gonna go ahead and end this session. We do thank you for coming to Wind Down with Real Women, because that's gonna be another hot topic, but we're gonna save that for next week or so, because we really want to get into that, because most men don't think that women are great leaders, but we'll talk about that. They don't respect women sometimes in the workplace, and we have to always do a bit more. So without getting to that, Mother, where can they follow you?
So I don't do Instagram a whole lot, but I am on Facebook. We all know, you guys know about the cooking platform, Cooking with Mother and Her Kids. So you guys can follow me there.
Yes, and I'm also on Instagram, s.fitfashion. That's where you can find me. If you have other topics that you would like us to discuss, hit us in the DM, not for dates, but for information, okay? Not for anything outside of Wind Down with Real Women. Let's keep.
But if we're not giving off that single energy that we was
okay. Yeah. So if you would like to come up and share or anything like that, feel free to DM us so we can put you on our schedule so we can have these different topics that are in a safe place. So once again, we thank you for coming and talking and chatting with us and winding down. And we hope that you have a great day. Y'all take care.
Bad little flex, she wanna know me. I stay low key, all gas, no brakes, baby, let them hoes sleep. Body on 10, make your girl OT. I get in my way, never out of my lane. Feel like you the one and I'm on one. So what it's gonna be? Baby, squad up, we finna go deep. Riding on a team, got what you need. Baby, won't you keep me company? Give me something to do when I get lonely. I got something for you when we get home. If you let me put it down, when I hit the town, you should lie on me. Keep your mind on me. On try, baby, I think you should side with me. Stay solid one time if you lie with me. Just promise you never lie to me. Keep the moves on tuck. I know it's all love. Everything good. Keep the vibes on crush. I know it's all good. Know it's all love. Know it's all love. I'm feeling like the man lately. Can't nobody do it like I can. Daily, baddest in the lattice in the